Earlier this year, I made a video titled Lipstick on an Ecofeminist. I presented the argument that it is hypocritical for a person to indulge in luxuries if they also advocate for any form of government. The degree to which this is hypocritical scales with the frivolity and abundance of the luxury, as well as the amount of government they personally feel is justified. I illustrated this using makeup as an example, suggesting that virtually all women who wear makeup are hypocrites, and that the conventional arguments on either side of the makeup question essentially boil down to a foundation of gynocentrism. I had more thoughts on this subject that I've left on the back burner, but since Contrapoints has recently addressed and in some ways exemplified these topics in a video titled Beauty, I've decided to share these thoughts. So Contrapoints spends the first 10 minutes explaining that the reason they got facial feminization surgery was, wait for it, to make their face appear feminine. Followed by straw manning of Jordan Petersons comments on makeup in the Vice interview he had last year, which, by the way, I recommend you watch unedited because Vice's dishonest clipping is its own spectacle. So there will be a link to that in the description. Now, Contrapoints paraphrased Jordan Peterson by suggesting that his claim was that the singular motivation of women wearing makeup is to attract men. And this is a straw man, first because he does not claim that this is the only motivation women have for wearing makeup, but second because his actual claim was that use of makeup and high heels is a sexual display. And he brought this up in the context of the workplace, just as a thought experiment. Now, this distinction is very important to remember in light of the evidence Contrapoints uses to refute the straw man, which is that women in prison will trade sexual favors for makeup. Because this behavior, as well as the behavior of undergoing cosmetic surgery, is still consistent with the idea that these are sexual displays. It's also consistent with the next point Contrapoints makes, which is that men like natural makeup. This is an argument many feminists make against makeup, which is that it has created an arms race, or perhaps a face race, that makes it an expectation. A woman that wears no makeup therefore looks sick, unless she's actually healthy. Now, from this perspective, it seems undeniable that there is a dishonest aspect to wearing makeup. A woman is presenting a version of her face that has been very deliberately painted to cover any imperfection. So men without makeup are freely giving women basic information about the quality of their health, while women are concealing this information. While I would put this at meninist tier in regards to men's issues in general, I just think it's worth pointing out that a man who criticizes how he is socially disadvantaged in this situation is ridiculed, as Contrapoints does in their video, whereas female claims to victimization by this social expectation seem to be among the most common concerns of women, which Contrapoints echoes in their video before applying the argument to the practice of doctoring photos on Instagram. Now, from there, Contrapoints pontificates on the conflict between acknowledging the importance of beauty and being complicit with what they perceive as harmful structures that are behind it. But 24 minutes into this video, Contrapoints does something very interesting that I doubt many of her followers picked up on, even though it's a page that comes straight out of the Ecofeminist playbook. They reference a series of mutually exclusive categories, clustering half of them around a positive value judgment, and the others, often referred to as other in social justice circles, around a negative value judgment. While Contrapoints is happy to throw dark-skinned people into the othered circle, along with trans people and the disabled, the male versus female binary is conspicuously absent. It seems quite obvious that in regard to beauty, females would be clustered into the beauty circle, leaving men to the othered circle. Instead, Contrapoints offers,
we know it's unjust that being light-skinned, cis, able-bodied, or thin is considered more attractive than being dark-skinned, trans, disabled, or fat. We know that female beauty matters so much because patriarchy.
We know that female beauty standards are valued because patriarchy. Alison Tiemann has pointed out that patriarchy theory is not a theory, suggesting it is more accurate to call it conjecture. But perhaps even that is too charitable. I would maintain that patriarchy has become the poster child of the thought-terminating cliché. And it's well placed, as Contrapoints had admitted that beauty is power less than a minute beforehand.
We know that beauty is power, that beauty is political.
It's very obvious that Contrapoints was dangerously close to admitting that women are privileged relative to men in an area that Contrapoints acknowledges is extremely important. By simply mentioning the sexual dynamic and linking it to the termination of thoughts, a casual viewer of this presentation will be deceived into thinking it was addressed. Contrapoints concludes the video by dancing around the hypocrisy of desiring the fruits of capitalism while ideologically opposing it, and they spend some time building up the idea of style as an alternative, and that there are practical steps that can be taken while compromising with the system, only to tear this entire construction down by just saying, fuck
no. What do you people think I am, some kind of transgender Mother Teresa?
And this is what I actually want to talk about. The real point of this video that Contrapoints just happened to illustrate for me perfectly. The hypocrisy of anti-capitalists, or I would argue non-anarcho-capitalists, that enjoy the fruits of capitalism is best understood as cheating on a boyfriend. A leftist is a person that cheats on communism with capitalism, while people on the right half of the political spectrum are cheating on capitalism with communism. To say that you prefer a mixed economy is to be in an open relationship ideologically. The arrangement plays out very predictably. Imagine the communist boyfriend as a lazy, unproductive, dirty, depressed drunk who cheats on his wife. Like Karl Marx, for example. And the capitalist boyfriend is strong, productive, handsome, virile, but to everyone's detriment, cucked and blue-pilled. A human tool to be used up, then disposed of. He is a Howard Rourke that refuses to go gald. In the leftist worldview, that which is good is clustered around communism, while that which is evil is clustered around capitalism. The communist boyfriend would totally finish his galaxy-brained blueprint for planning the ideal society from the top down if only his girlfriend would be more emotionally supportive and sexually available. Everything would work if he and his girlfriend weren't being exploited into dependence upon the Chad capitalist. The communist boyfriend provides no real value whatsoever. He merely exaggerates his own importance whenever he completes some mundane task around the house, then spreads lies about the capitalist in a vain effort to get his girlfriend to stop banging him. This creates a bimodal distribution where one moves further to the left the more they believe these lies. A person on the right side of the spectrum may understand that it's mostly lies, yet they still keep the communist boyfriend around, just in case. Capitalism has not been fully committed to us. But why would he be? We're a bunch of cheating whores that don't really deserve him. In our polyamorous nightmare, communism said he'd handle the dishes. And then we assume capitalism can't do it, because capitalism has never done the dishes for us. It's completely forgotten by us that capitalism bought all the food, paid for the house, and bought the dishes themselves. The reason that this relationship is hidden from us is that we are not just the girlfriend. We are all three to different degrees. When we produce something valuable, we are the capitalist boyfriend. When we lie, cheat, steal, or manipulate others, we are the communist boyfriend. And when we go online and take a political compass quiz, shopping around for the perfect ideology to suit our personal preference, we are the girlfriend. Although all three of these personas are expressed in our actions and attitudes, I do not maintain that they must be balanced. I believe that two of these personas should be diminished as much as possible. lose the freeloading commie and the entitled cheating girlfriend, and enter the glorious capitalist homo state. And now that we've arrived, we're going to talk about makeup. The notion of style and the general idea that makeup is an artistic tool and a medium of self-expression is totally fine. And in fact, it's glorious in many ways. It's a great thing for the capitalist. But the two-timing dependent girlfriend is still conflicted because they are, in fact, also relying upon it to procure resources from her boyfriends. The woman who truly loves beauty, art, and self-expression is the independent, capitalist, productive woman. The entire purpose of Contrapoints' video was to suggest that beauty is important enough to one's mental health that it shouldn't be considered a luxury. And I actually agree. Luxury is not a very useful category. Our so-called needs are determined entirely by our desires. You only need food because you want to continue living. And it is the supremacy of desires combined with a principled application of universality in regard to human rights that lead us toward capitalism. The conflict that Contrapoints is trying to work around in their video is an expression of the conflict in desires that non-anarcho-capitalists are subjecting themselves to by choosing to cheat on their other boyfriend. Thank you.